Okay, welcome everybody. I'm a little hot. It'll be it. It's November. You know what that means? It's November. Exactly what it means. There you go. All right. Couple of notes about this meeting. Aries was going to be our member of the month. He asked for a little extra time. Something about vacuum tubes and sales, and I don't know, he inherited 4 trillion tubes, and he'll give you a lowdown on that in a minute. So we're going to move him to next year, which sounds far away, but it's really not. And so we won't have a member of the month, but we do have a killer presentation from Eric. And if you saw the email, which of course everyone did, right? He's got a giveaway, a raffle related to said topic. So tickets will be handed out when he starts his presentation for said free gift. He can go into other details. All right. Hello. Well, you know, old school. Nothing's working. What's up with this? There we go. Trivia. What was the most powerful broadcast? And this is not shortwave, this is not government, whatever. This is traditional radio. What was the most powerful broadcast radio station ever?
Luxembourg. WLW in Cincinnati, 500 kilowatts.
WLW out of
Cincinnati.
not sure where.
Cincinnati.
Correct. You two get bragging rights. That was WLW, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a Crosley radio called a WLW. They only made a few. I didn't say first, it's the most powerful. Most powerful.
That said, what was the most powerful? It didn't say the first.
Yeah, it says most powerful, not the first.
Why don't you say the most powerful radio in the U.S.?
Because I didn't think about it, because we're going to make the assumption this is the U.S., and only you would throw that wrench at me at the 11th hour. Love you, man.
There's a footnote to that.
No, please tell.
And that was that the WBAP antenna in Fort Worth was built by Eamon Carter, who owned WBAP, and that broadcast antenna was insulated for a megawatt. And he, as a result of all the bull stuff that went on with this thing, and people's drain spouts and gutters talking to them, they decided that 50 kilowatts was going to be the limit, and that's going to stay that way.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about, as you recall, I'd worked in television, and the station we had an RCA transmitter. It was on a 1,500-foot stick, and it had an effective ERP of 5 megawatts coming out of that thing. The transmitter wasn't doing it. It was 112 kilowatts, I think, with the gain on the antenna. Though there was so much loss in the line, they had to jack the output of the transmitter up. Because it was supposed to be 110,000 watts, hence the model number. They had to jack it up. So I got to think about, what's 500 kilowatts when you get 5 megawatts coming out of something? Of course, that's UHF, and 5 megawatts got you 20, 30 miles or something.
By the way, they dynamited that tower when they built a new airport at DFW.
Can't leave that one up, can they? All righty. Agenda. We'll go through the minutes. We have some old business. Mind the way, can you see? Facebook members, dues, reminder about that. We'll do the elections. We'll have a recap of the swap meet. Talk about some test equipment at the mini auction, which I'll talk about that later. We'll have a break. Eric is going to do his presentation after the break. Then we'll have open announcements, show and tell, which are product branded radios, and member sales. So let's get started. We're up to 103 members on Facebook. I wish we had 103 actually in the club, but it does translate. And these are the 5, 6 new members. Ian, who showed up at the swap meet, who bought a lot of radios, joined both the club and Facebook, so he did both. I was actually hoping he'd be here today, but couldn't make it. So we still continue to add people Facebook periodically, so that's great. Gustav, I think he's actually in Argentina or Brazil or Venezuela. I always check people's profiles when they ask to join, and he's got some old radios and stuff in there, but I had to translate his stuff a little bit. So that's good. Reminders, for 2026, the dues will go from $16 to $20. That's not new. I just want to remind everybody, Mark will be starting his communication before too long here. So again, just when you see that, it's not a tariff, it's just cost of living. The insurances cost a lot more now than they did. So and so we'll be doing that. So that's sort of the old business. And that's old business, because we talked about that before. It's just a reminder. Maybe we should have a reminder section. I kid. I kid because I love. All right, 2026 officer elections. We started talking about that in September. Thank you, Dwight, because it didn't dawn on me, October we wouldn't have a meeting. We'd be at the swap meet. So he suggested we start teeing this up in September, which we did. And so we've put out calls for anybody wanting it. We have this slate, which I'll show you in a minute, of the current nominees. We will move forward with electing those whomever people shortly. So this is the current slate. Jim returns as vice president. Lloyd returns as secretary. Mark returns as the membership guru. Aries returns as the executive operations coordinator, AKA the poor person gets stuck doing everything. And then myself as president. Now, if you will notice, it's election day. We still do not have a treasurer. One thing that Paul had pointed out to me is the role sort on the bylaws is a little bit vague. So I'm going to give the floor to Paul for a few minutes because he's going to talk about the role in reality and see if that may change some minds in the room or whatever. So I'm going to turn the floor to Paul, and then we'll go back and actually do the elections.
You want to do it that way?
Yes.
Okay, I can do it right here with this, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. The role of treasurer is obviously just to keep track of the company, of the club's money. It is an important job, and it's one that takes some of your time, all of the time, and during a couple of periods, like during the big swap meet in April, it takes a lot of your time. The thing you guys need to understand, if you don't already, that a club like this does not run by itself. The club in Virginia and Maryland, the one that I came from as my home club when I moved down here, has a whole bunch of people that actually spend a lot of time working on behalf of the club. If the members don't come forward and offer to be a part of that and take their turn as putting time in, the club ultimately will cease to exist, because if you don't have member participation, the club can't function. We've got a lot of people around here. Lee stepped up to the presidency when nobody wanted it. Dwight was president for 3 years while he actually had a job. And I think you still do have a job, yeah. You did your time. Reed did his time. Mark Palmquist has been membership director for just about forever. I don't ever remember a time in the club when he wasn't.
He also did president for a year.
He did. Okay, I did not know that. I'm a relative newcomer. So what I'm saying is, unless people are willing to come forward and take on some of these responsibilities, the club cannot continue to exist. Not only that, when you came in, you had already started the Facebook activity and a bunch of other stuff that we hadn't been doing before. So if the activity passes out of activity, one of my issues, somebody's going to have to do it. And you can't dump anything more on him, and you can't dump anything more on these people that have been working with this club for a long time. we need some new participation. And I just make the pitch that you need to do it. One of the things that you need to be careful of in this is we've got an insurance policy, a liability policy, that has to be renewed every year. And it's getting tough to do that. We had a real crisis when our previous carrier in the spring, March, I think it was, decided that our premium went from $300 to $1,000. And for that, we can buy a liability policy as well as a D&O, directors and officers, which is something that what it amounts to is a lot of the insurance companies said, we're not even going to administer an account that's not worth $1,000. And we found somebody. I was able to find somebody with, I forget, one of the members suggested this guy. And he was able to insure us for like $420, which was only $100 over what we were paying before. But this, like everything else in this society, costs are going up. As Marty Feldman said in Young Frankenstein, the prices have gone up. Anyway, the point is, this is a pitch. You got to keep records, and the point is that when Milholland passed, he handed off to me a very complex arrangement that he had established for himself. And he was an actuary. He had all this stuff in his computer, and he had all this wild stuff, and I had to sort all this out, and it took me a year to stabilize the whole thing. But we got it done, and everything worked out. The point is, we don't want to do that again. And I was 88 in August, so I'm in my 89th year, and somebody needs to take over the treasurer's job. And so this is an appeal for that to happen. So think about it. I will be around, and I'll continue to do the donuts and the audio and all that stuff as long as I can. But the point is, you guys got to realize that this club doesn't run itself. In order to make it work, you're going to have to do it. Somebody's going to have to do some of this work besides the people that are doing it right now. Okay?
Okay. So as, to remind everybody again, Paul is retiring. He's going to go deal with donuts and audio going forward. So we really do need a treasurer moving forward. The beauty is we're not losing his brain trust, because donuts don't take him away from the club and the county and the city. So he will still be around to advise and counsel the new person. So unlike him, where he kind of walked into kind of something that got dumped on his lap, not his fault, not the predecessor's fault. It's just tragic circumstances. So give that some thought. We'll table that temporarily. If you want to nominate yourself today, great. If you need a couple days to think about it, just shoot us a note, and we'll go from there. So, yes, sir.
If anybody wants more detail, if they're serious about thinking about it, let's sit and talk, and I'll give you some more detail, but there's no sense in going through all that in front of everybody.
Right, agreed. He actually created a document that outlined the stuff in pretty good detail that he can make available if someone wanted to see that. Okay, so keep me honest, Dwight, on protocol and procedure here. So will somebody, do we have any other people who would like to nominate themselves for any of these roles? Going once, going twice? Take that as a no. So let's vote on the club. Is the club in agreement with accepting this roster of officers for 2026?
I'll make a motion to retain these officers for 2026.
Motion, second? Okay, great. All right, we're back in the seat. But again, so thank you for trusting us and putting up with us for another year. It's only going to get crazier because we haven't even started to get crazy yet. But again, interest in treasurer, please let us know. So congratulations to us, and again, thank you for trusting us, and hopefully we have done a good job. In January, just a little preview, Part of what January is going to be a look back and a look forward strategically. We have a lot of stuff to be proud of that we have done as a club, so we want to acknowledge that. And it's been in large part by the leadership here as well. So you're trusting us to do this again. That's a good sign. All right. Swap meet. So as you all know, we had our swap meet last month. It was wonderful, great weather, nice environment, didn't rain, had a nice little turnout, lots of great stuff here. Dwight scored some beautiful radios that were basically, the funds were donated to the club 100%. And Ian, I think, bought all of them, or most of them, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you, Dwight, for bird dogging that, because that helped our coffers, which we'll talk about a little bit in just a second. But I think the venue works. If there's any disagreement with that, let me know on the side. But this is the second year now we've done it there, and I think it works very well, and I'm tickled to death with it. Thank you, Dwight and Aries, for looking at that. I'm not sure who else was in the group, but I know you two were involved with finding that, so it works out well. What I'd like to do is turn the mic to Paul for a couple of minutes just to kind of show you what the numbers were, dollars, and Aries, because he was tube man. So you may not be aware, but between Dwight and Paul, the club scored a major tube inventory, which also helped to the bottom line. And so Aries will just spend a couple of minutes kind of letting you know where the tube inventory lives now, because it's quite a bit more impressive than it was this time last year. So Paul, if you'll give them some quick numbers.
This part's easy. Let's see, whatever date it was, the 14th, I made a deposit in cash to our account in the bank of $864. $40 of that was seed money that I had taken out before that to serve as for change. The other was $50 for the rental of the facility, which Aries took care of, and I have passed a check to him today to reimburse him for that. And we get a $10 discount because you're a resident of the county. So that leaves us with a net of $774 as a result of that activity. About a half of all that came from Ian, because he bought one of those radios for like $225 and then came around to the table and bought what, 10 O&As? So he about scored half of all the income we got that day. And all the rest of it was people scrounging on tubes, how much for this, how much for that. Anyway, we had a great day, and we still have a lot of tubes. And one of the things that Aries is going to talk about is the magnitude of the number of tubes that we have left. And I can also say some other words, like we've got, what is it, 100 6SN7s, 121 6V6s.
130.
130, okay, I stand
130,
corrected.
yeah.
You guys are going to have to trust us to make some decisions as to how to get rid of these tubes, because we're never going to sell all of these to members onesie, twosie, if this club lasts for another 100 years. And so we're going to have to, we're going to ask you for some delegated authority to make mass decisions about getting rid of some of these tubes. There's a lot of valuable tubes left, and we still have a lot of money to make out of those. And we already had a bunch of tubes to start. So there are a lot of tubes involved. And before Thanksgiving, I got to get up to Aries, this place. We're going to have to do some careful testing of the valuable tubes and figure out how we want to dispose of them. And I'm asking for, and I imagine you'd be willing to grant us authority to dispose of some of those en masse, because they're going to have to go to tube resellers that can make a lot more money on. But we're never going to, if we sit on those tubes forever, they're we're just never gonna get anything out of them because the club members aren't particularly crazy about 6S and 7s.
Sir?
Dr. Hart, what do you recommend is the best venue to sell those to?
I have a number of contacts in the tube sales business that I do tube testers for. They very often will be happy to buy tubes in quantity for reasonable prices because they're going to resell them and they have to make money doing it.
So go with somebody like that who will buy it from us at a wholesale as opposed to doing an eBay and getting retail if possible?
Okay, if you do eBay, who is the seller?
eBay.
No, you are.
Right.
You are. So if I go on eBay and sell them, I have to report that sale as part of my income.
You can't list it as SARS?
No. SARS doesn't have that kind of a presence. We are only listed as a nonprofit. We can't, we have an EIN number, but we don't file tax returns. We don't do any of that stuff.
But
We had a,
have eBay account as SARS or just as you?
Yeah.
And Charlie 3?
who is gonna do the work? Who is gonna package them? Who is gonna negotiate the price? Who's gonna take care of tax collection? Who's gonna take care of shipping them? Okay, I think John just volunteered.
Thanks for volunteering.
Okay, so it's like, who is gonna help me bake the bread?
Roger's gonna volunteer, I see his hand up.
Plus eBay gets a percentage.
Plus,
Well, then we sell
well, they charge listing fees and then they get a percentage besides.
Facebook Marketplace.
Only if you do an auction and they collect the sales tax.
Well, I understand that, but you gotta do it through them and they provide that service. So the point is that this is not a simple, there's not a simple answer to this question. The best thing to do is sell them off wholesale to these resellers and let them pay us, and we're clear, we don't have any obligation, we don't have any liabilities. No, we're not gonna get that much, you never do. You'd be lucky to get 30. But the point is, if you got 100 of these things, how long is it gonna take us to sell them bit by bit? And 100, you said 136 V6s. Okay, one of the things we gotta do, I gotta take a triplet up there and we gotta do some really good testing on these tubes so that when we do offer them for sale, we got numbers with them that people are gonna depend on. Okay,
And remember, if we got them for free, 30% is better than zero.
well, yeah, well, that's right. Otherwise, they're gonna sit in Aries' shed. In some of the tubs he got them in.
There's about 8 tubs in there.
Yeah, right, okay. Anyway,
Okay.
I just wanted to clear on that. I don't know whether you want to pass it now to
Pass
Aries.
it to Aries to give us a little quick update on the tube inventory.
So like he was saying, Knutsen's been very good to us. So I got like about 8 tubs of tube. He had them all segregated. He had them all tested. I went ahead and picked out the weak ones that he had marked as weak, and yeah, they were below 50%, so I just chucked them out of hand. There's no point in hanging on to them. But I got a kind of an inventory, and a lot of like the AA5 tubes and things like that, I will integrate into our existing stock in that, and then we'll have to decide on the others what we want to do with. But this is an inventory if anybody wants to take a look at it of those, just those. Here, it's right here, anybody wants to look at it. But yeah, there's a lot of tubes. Tom did a great job with them.
And again, we were, and again, thank you to everyone who was involved in getting those, because it did help.
Buying is solicited.
Gets us into, obviously, a good situation financially with that. And so, anyone want to do a motion that has Aries and Paul figure out a plan for the long-term storing and/or getting rid of said tubes? Come up with a plan and present it to us? Motion? Second? Okay. third, fourth, fifth grade, okay.
I would like to try a tube or two that has some value on eBay, just as a test. I have an account, I can make that happen. You don't have to worry about the taxes, you're going into the $1 million tax bracket thing, so. Let's see what they bring. If they bring $2, fine. We won't do it again, right? But try it.
You wanna try some Sylvania bad boys?
I'll try that one.
All right.
Give me some good tested ones with no versus.
Well, absolutely. You don't think I'd pass anything less than that to you?
Well, only to me, but not to the market.
All righty. Okay, next up, and I will have to change files here real quickly, is not the break. Dwight has, so let me back up. If you saw the presentation, in December, the show and tell is test equipment, okay? Full stop. We're going to do a mini club auction in December as well for test equipment. Dwight's come across some test equipment. I'll let him go into the details. And obviously it fits with the theme, but here's an opportunity for the club to have a little mini auction and get rid of some test equipment, which doesn't come up very, very often here.
All right, thank you, Lee. Good morning, everyone. Just to reiterate, Tom Knutson, though he's passed 2 years ago, has been good to the club. And all the tubes that Aries was just speaking about came from Tom Knutson's collection. And we've had some radios that came from his collection that have also been sold at our swap meets. Well, this collection continues, and these are some of the vintage antique test equipment that were in his collection. And to help his widow Joyce try to create some space in her house and to reduce some of that inventory, she has agreed to allow us to sell these items. So if you just kind of indulge me a little bit, I thought, well, to try to create some interest, let's show some pictures at the November meeting, and then we'll have a mini auction after the December meeting. Some of these things might be of interest to you, others may not, but let's just go through them. Then I'm also going to, these are just right now are just on a flash drive on JPEGs. I'm going to give that flash drive to Lloyd, and he's going to load these pictures on SmugMug. We'll point to SmugMug from our website. Jim will be able to do that so we can promote the mini auction, and you can go back and look at these pictures throughout the month. There'll also be 2 slides of what I'm holding in my hand is a list of all the pictures and description. So if you want to do some research on these items, you will be able to do that by looking at this list. So do you have a... Okay, so let's go back to the first one. This one is a Supreme Model 189 signal generator in a wooden box. Kind of neat looking. Okay. This one is a Solar capacitor analyzer. He actually has 2 of these. And it's got each one has an I tube, and I believe it's an 80 rectifier tube. This is a Cornell doubler, another capacitor analyzer. Weston Model 785 industrial circuit tester. And there's actually 2 of these. Weston. Yeah, Weston. Okay, yeah, Weston. I'll hold the mic closer here. This is another Weston Model 905 kilowatt meter. So everybody needs a kilowatt meter. Okay, I thought this was quite unique. And what was interesting, Sam Lysinger remembered that Tom had this. Cold cathode tube test set, Western Electric. Again, everybody needs something to test their cold cathode tubes, right?
What you're testing with this was unique to the Bell system.
Okay, all right. So there's a bigger picture of the whole setup there. This is another Western Electric tube test set. He had a lot of military pieces of test equipment. Some of you may have used some of this back in the day. This is a USM-3 made by Radio Frequency Labs. That's the model plate on it. And the next picture should be a picture of what that device is.
By the way, this is a very sought-after piece of equipment. And to find one of these with all of the
Accessories.
accessories is almost impossible.
Okay.
So this is really there are some people, I'm not sure that at a club auction, you're gonna get anywhere near what this is worth. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What was it again?
It's made by Radio Frequency Labs. It's a model AN-USM-3. I believe there was two of these guys he had.
It's a tube tester TV4.
Yeah, tube tester TV4U and then signal tracer TS673U.
I think that's only the second one of those with everything in it that I've ever seen.
And then over here was a tube chart, all the tube numbers.
It actually is on a little hinge that flips out.
Yeah.
And so you can open it up. It's an emissions tester, but it's a very rare piece of equipment.
Interesting. All right. This is interesting item. It's a Thomson alternating ammeter. And there is, you probably can't read it back there, September 12th, 1917 is the date on that certification. Nice wooden base to it. So that might be something that look nice on the wall. This is an unknown milliamp meter.
Is that a brand?
This is a nice HP frequency counter. It does work. Okay. Next one is a little handheld multimeter from the U.S. Army Signal Corps. It's a picture of it right there. It's the same one, he has not a complete set. I'm of some riders troubleshooter manuals. I don't know if there's interest in people, if you're interested in the rider's manual or not. I'll bring them if you're interested. Obviously, they're heavy when I have that many of them. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's got 12 different volumes. This picture is 18, 15, 16, 6, the abridged 1 through 5, and 17. And then the next picture is 7, 8, 11, 14, 13, and 12. Next one is a Joule radio set analyzer that has got, it's got purple velvet interior to it. Everybody again needs one of these. got a parts cabinet. Again, some more military. He's got two of these, a TS-352 multimeter kits. That's the first one. Here's the second one. I thought I'd add this. This was a homemade solid-state stereo amplifier. That's the inside of it. Nice hefty transformer in there. And then there's the back of it, the inputs and the outputs. This is a Westinghouse AC voltmeter. And then we've got some books, some collector's books. Got a console book, guide to old radios. And this one is a first edition from 1923 radio handbook. A couple pictures there, copyright 1923. And then the last picture should be, there's a set of these 1920s radio manufacturers books. This is the list, there'll be a picture will be included of those items. Again, take a look at that, and these things will be sold through a mini auction at the end of the December meeting. All right, thank you.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Correct.
Right, yeah. Right.
Bring our own junk for auction.
I guess. I mean, I hadn't really thought about that.
Where's our auctioneer? Where's Mark?
He's not here. I mean, we always have the club sales thing, so for that, absolutely, yeah. It would be a separate transaction. But yeah, bring it if you got it. So, right, show and tell stuff is not the auction stuff. Club auction stuff is not the personal stuff. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dwight, for that. Sorry for the technical snafu. I think our batteries have bitten the dust in the remote there. And as we said, all these photos will be put on SmugMug, which will be accessible through the website and Facebook, along with the list, so people can go out at either channel that they like and do it. Actually, we could send an email with the links to the entire club. We'll do that as well. We'll send an email, but link it to Facebook and the website, so people who are not here might still be interested.
It may be worth it, people can't make it to the December meeting if they want to bid on something.
We'll add
I'm sure
that.
we can make arrangements.
We'll add that in the note as well. Okay. All right, so with that, we're going to take a break. Let's do 20 minutes. Eric will come back and teach us about software-defined radios.
So yes, I'm Eric Kelton. For you, those of you that don't know me, I'm going to do a little mini intro in part of the slides. But I want to give you, at the end of the day, I want to give you tools that you can use in a low bar of entry towards this. So free software, relatively cheap hardware that you can get if you want to continue pursuing this. So it's a pretty amazing world out there in terms of wireless communications. There's signals, from DC to daylight, or beyond actually daylight. So RF waves are very crowded. So this is for the U.S. frequency allocations that the NTIA and the FCC specify. NTIA does federal allocations. FCC does non-federal allocations, commercial mostly. So this chart, it's hard to see obviously, but all the spectrum is spoken for pretty much. So this goes from 3 kilohertz, 300 gigahertz. And it's, that's the thing about the spectrum these days. It's very congested, very contested, and you have to devise signals that can work around those impediments. And propagation, you have a lot of concerns. So, I want to tell you how I came to interest on this. My two aunts, okay? So this is actually my mom's aunt, Annie B. And that's it's a replacement of the radio that I originally inherited from my aunt. So I like to say that's where I started being interested in radios. And yeah, like I said, lifetime passion is born. I've launched my career based on it. So that's one aunt. This is the other aunt. So, like I say, I think this is one of the best movies ever that feature radios, right? Does everybody know what movie this is? Okay.
No, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. So Smokey and the Bandit with CB radios? Yeah. So she took my aunt, took me and my sisters here in town to go see the movie, and she had her hair back up in a bun, so nobody recognized her. She was very plain dressed. And I've acquired this Pace radio, which is one of the ones, they use several different Pace radios in the movie. So that's my other aunt. Oop. That's my dad. So my dad's an artist. He's not an engineer. He started his own business here, and he moved down from Chicago in the 50s, and he started with two partners a graphics design shop. So where we didn't exactly mesh technical-wise, he gave me a really good art appreciation. And a lot of this, this hobby is, the arts of like Art Deco and things like that in your radio design. So, it's my father, my mom. So, she was always into research and stuff. She worked at the Carter Center for years, top employee. So she inspired, I'm just inquisitive. This is a short synopsis of my career path and education. Go Doors. I got an undergrad in double E. And then I went to work for IBM up in Manassas, Virginia, and worked on sonar, which wasn't what I was thinking I wanted to do, obviously, but I spent like 5 years there, and I worked on the spherical ray on the submarines, so 688 class sub, Busy 1. You got the yellow jacket there too. And then went to, let's see, E-Systems, which is in Falls Church. And then that's when I finally was able to break into working on radios, military radios. And then I took a year off. I got my master's in operations research from Georgia Tech. And then I spent a lot of time at SRC, which is based here off of Windy Hill. And I worked on radios there. And now I'm at GTRI, and I'm working on radios still, so it's very nice. This is a patent one of my patents, and it's for a very unique kind of waveform based on wavelets. You have your Fourier transform, you also have a wavelet transform, and this is math that kind of came about, really started growing back in I would say the 80s. And so what this does is you see frequency and time, and you can arrange, I like to call it a puzzle, okay? So you're putting your modulated symbols on different branches of this pruned filter bank tree. And basically, you know how you pruned it on this side, And on the receiver side, you have to actually match it up on the other side to be able to unlock the puzzle and recover your data. So that has some different applications. Okay, so what is an SDR? Finally, we're getting into the meat of this. I actually had AI generate that diagram. It took it a while, but I thought it did a decent job, you know. So basically, SDR is you want to digitize as far as you can before the antenna. Of course, you always have to pull in with analog. You have to have an analog front end. Still, you have to have analog filtering to pass the signal. And then, of course, it goes through an A to D. It goes, signal goes into DSP, which is, for a lot of SDRs, it runs off-board. Okay, so it runs on a PC or other kind of device, and that's where all the algorithms reside. But if you really want to have a system, you have to embed that into the software-defined radio itself, not have that external interface. So there's a lot of platforms that I'll show you for that. This is the kinds of things that you do on that DSP. So source encoding, that's like mapping bits to symbols. Encryption, decryption, obviously. Channel encoding, you're trying to add forward error correction to the channel so that you uncover the bits on the other at the other end, despite channel distortion and attenuation and all that. Then different streams feeding into this from different sources. Alternate path 1 is OFDM, and I don't know if you guys are familiar. OFDM is like the modulation scheme these days. It stands for orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. It's using Wi-Fi, it's using LTE, it's using 5G. That's the fundamental basis of it. So MIMO is multiple in, multiple out, and it's like spatial diversity. So you're getting gain from receiving the signal from different uncorrelated, angles. So it helps a lot in multipath situations where maybe one direction isn't propagating as well. So, and then the alternate path 2 is where traditional single carrier modulation, pulse modulation, demod, up converting it to bandpass, and then also frequency spread spectrum waveforms. Multiple access is important because you don't want everybody trying to talk at the same time. Now, Ethernet works, Wi-Fi works fine on that. You have your collisions, you have your back-offs, and have the retransmissions. But, there's other schemes that guarantee that you're not going to have that, like TDMA time, division multiple access, frequency division multiple access. Synchronization is a problem that everybody always puts aside and say, we assume the system is synchronized. It's not that easy. And if you don't have synchronization, you don't have any signal recovery. And of course, automatic gain control, like you have in other radios, traditional radios. So all this stuff runs on the DSP. Okay, this is this short look at the history of SDRs. We'll start with, anybody know who that is? Claude Shannon, Bell Labs, father of information theory. Without him, we wouldn't have any of the stuff we have now in terms of cell phones and all that. Because he wrote a paper called Communications in the Presence of Noise. So he defined what the capacity is, how much information can you reliably send over a channel. So he formulated all that, and he was right. He hasn't been disproven yet. So, Ulrich Rode, I wasn't familiar with him, but apparently he had the first SDR with the DoD contract. The guy in the middle, Joe Mottola, worked at E-Systems. At the same time I worked at E-Systems, just down the street practically, because I was in Falls Church and he was in Fairfax, so I don't think we ever crossed paths. But he's you'll hear his name a lot in SDR stuff. He's like considered the father of SDRs because he had the marketing muscle on that. So, and then apparently, I didn't know this either, Stephen Bluss with AT&T actually added the defined part to it because software radio otherwise was, it could mean you're just controlling the settings and stuff. You're not doing the actual physical layer processing, decoding, demod. So that kind of broadened it. And then 1992, 97, the Air Force developed a system called Speakeasy, which was the first military SDR. And then it had, after that, there was something called Joint Tactical Radio Systems, which was a huge program for years. Somewhat successful, somewhat not successful. It spent a lot of money. But so going on, GNU Radio. This is still out there today. It was the original software for the software-defined radio. It's Linux-based, so I think there are some forks on it occasionally that go to Windows, but if you want to use this, which is very graphic-oriented block kind of thing, and you go way down into the weeds. So that's, and then Matt Edis was a big thing in SDR. He was actually developed an SDR platform called the USRP, and it stands for Universal Software Radio Peripheral. So he started, I don't know if he started in his basement or whatever, but he developed a company and he eventually sold it off to National Instruments for a lot of money. So we use those today where I work. We use those to prototype stuff. They're kind of expensive for the hobbyist, okay? They start around $1,000 each, so. But they're good radios. Fred Harris is a guy I've had the pleasure to work with, and he and I did another patent called interpolated tree orthogonal multiplexing, which the purpose of that was to do spectral sculpting. So you could take a narrowband signal and cut a notch in your broadband signal so you don't interfere with that. And it's very, like I said, it's very surgical sculpting, very deep notches, and very narrow notches. So, and then finally, I want to say RTL SDR, which is what we're raffling off today. It's a repurposed digital video broadcast TV receiver, and that's that. That's a short and sweet. I just want to throw this up about the Speakeasy system. I think it speaks for itself. It was the first of its kind, and it was ruggedized and kind of things like that. But it was trying out the concepts.
Eric, did that one system go from 2 megahertz all the way up to 400 megahertz, or did they have?
It definitely went up to 400 megahertz. Originally, I think they planned to 2 gigahertz, and they may have expanded it to 2 gigahertz. But definitely to 400 megahertz.
But one particular unit you covered that much?
Yes, yes. Well, just like the RTL SDR will go from, gosh, what does it go down? It goes down to a few hundred kilohertz, and then it goes up to like 1.7 gigahertz. So it has a really wide range on that. We'll take a look at that in a second.
Is that sort of the flex radio? Flex radio is a super high-end military spec, very cool SDR radio.
Yes.
I'm sure it came out of the military originally. Was there a connection there, or?
I'm familiar with the flex radio. Yeah, it's primarily HF. I don't think it goes beyond that. We've worked with them before, the company that produces those. That's a version of software-defined radio. Kind of not cheap though.
No.
They're like several $1,000s. So. Here's just a potpourri of different SDRs. This is on the far, it's kind of a small picture, I apologize, but that is the USRP I was talking about. And then you have this hack RF1. A lot of these you can buy on Amazon. RTL SDR in the middle. I know Perseus over on the far right, which is a shortwave receiver. That's the black and yellow one. And there's some other ones on here. Nuon Blade RF. I think that's the one up in the top corner. Anyhow, this just kind of gives you an idea of there's different versions out there, you know, to suit your taste. Okay, this is okay. Well, now we get into the guts a little bit, but I just wanted to show a schematic diagram of the RTL, and basically, like I said, it's a repurposed DVT. For the thing about it is, you have on the far right, you have the I and Q that come out, and that's what goes to your computer to do all the hard work in DSP. And then it comes back in for transmitted signals. You feed back in, you know, the signal you've created and send it back in through I and Q ports there. Like I said, this will tune up to 1.7 gigahertz, and it works pretty well. It costs about $40 these days, and if you get it, you want to make sure you have at least version 3 or version 4, because those are the they've made the specs better. Essentially, it has a better clock on it, better oscillator, like 1 part per million on the RTL V3 or V4. I think V4 now is added, and that's the one I have for raffle today. I think it has like a direct conversion, so you don't have to have an external device to listen to shortwave on it. So it has its own up converter built into it. I don't think I know the version 3 doesn't have that. So that's that. That's the economical one. And then you have, and I brought this if anybody wants to see it, this educational, it's an evaluation board essentially, but it's really analog devices trying to sell, you know, chips. And so they want to get you in the ecosystem. So it's built at literal cost of the chips and stuff. It runs about $200-300. And so if you want to step, and if you want to transmit, this will transmit. Not very high power, but it'll transmit. And the key things are the zinc chip, the Xilinx zinc chip. That's a FPGA, which stands for Field Programmable Gate Array, which is essentially a programmable chip to program in logic circuits, you know, and be able to reprogram that hardware. That's where all the fast stuff has to go, like, you know, multiplexing and stuff like that, something that could keep up with it. So, and then the 809361, which is, or actually this is 9363, is what is your transceiver. That does the analog interface, that does all the filtering. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to look at the guts of this, in the picture over there, the chip, the zinc chip is in the middle, and then the transceiver is closer to the antenna ports.
So is that transmitter open? You can transmit on any frequency? Or no?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So as it comes to you, as you buy it, I think it tunes from 300 megahertz to 3.2 gigahertz. But there's a hack you can do to it that's out there. And you can expand the range out to 6 gigahertz. And you can push it back down so it covers FM too. So
But nothing down in the H yet? Like 3 to 30?
yeah, I wouldn't use it for that, no, because when you do that hack to get it down in lower frequencies, it's not guaranteed performance, you know. But you're just unlocking a capability that they're not guaranteeing the response in that band. So, yeah, I wouldn't use that for HF. I wouldn't use this for HF. But,
Someone could use that for questionable activities, though,
yeah,
jam something.
yeah, absolutely. But like I said, it's not designed, it's not designed to put out, I think it puts out maybe 10 dBm max, if even that. So if you put an amplifier on that, yeah, you're kind of pushing it there. So,
Plus 10 dBm?
yes.
That's pretty good output.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 milliwatts or so, so yeah.
Paul, you can't start your radio station back.
They're not selling this as a radio, though. They make that very clear, that not to be broadcasting with. But yeah, it's just a nice.
Don't flip the switch, so you don't do this.
Okay, here's what we're mainly interested in, I hope, is what can you do with this? And I have like 3 slides on this. You can read through them. Spectrum analyzer, looking at NOAA weather satellite images, listening to satellites in the International Space Station, radio astronomy, monitoring meteor scatter. I haven't done all these things, but listening to FM, decoding the digital sidebands on FM, DAB broadcast, which we don't really get here, but it's a European kind of thing. RTL as a PAN adapter, taxi mobile data terminal signals, I don't know. Random number generation, just lots of things.
Listening to the police?
What's that?
Listening to the police? The police now, they're all getting wild.
What's that?
Listening to the police?
Yes. But the problem with that is it's encrypted, so you can't hear it even if you had the capability on there. You cannot. And most municipal police forces have gone to encrypted communications. And any kind of digital scanner or whatever that decodes like P25 or whatever, that's phase 1, phase 2. It's encrypted, and so it's going to be like a brick.
Are you familiar with mesh-tastic?
Mesh trunking? You talking about trunking?
Mesh-tastic.
No.
Basically a bunch of cheap SDRs you can set up, and they only have a range of a few miles, but you have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Then you can have like a network of radios that bounce everything.
Oh.
I put one up on my, I just put one up on my site that covers a very large area though. Because my
Yeah.
site, mountain up in North Georgia is over 3,000 feet
Oh, okay.
with mesh-tastic.
It must get good coverage. Here's more. And that's the unencrypted police, so it was coming up.
A lot of little departments up in North Georgia are still not.
True. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement, but the future is not a good path towards being able to do anything useful with it, unfortunately. Tracking maritime boat positions with AIS, all the shipping has AIS transponders on it, so you can look at that. And you'll see that when I'm going to show a video in a minute of the tool, software tool, and they go through the different examples of doing these things. Okay. There we go. Here's where I was getting at with the HF part of it. If you have an up converter direct sampling mode, then you can use it for HF listening and decoding and all that. This is the tool that I found a few months ago. It's a nice tool because it's not a high learning curve necessarily to start using it off the bat, but it is open source, it's free, and it has a lot of all these decoding functions of what I showed you already built into it. So it is Windows-based, yes. So I think that's just a screenshot. And that's the presentation. So I want to show this video now. So I don't know if you want to pause it for a minute and get the video going, or. Yeah, is the video still up? It's mostly silent. But here you go. So yeah, it's going through ADSB just for starters, and I'm hoping to be able to demo that in a minute. But it just shows you all the flight details and all that stuff, which is really cool. And it's just a basic, it's a narrowband, roughly 1 gigahertz, at 1 gigahertz narrowband signal that uses pulse position modulation to convey the different data coming off the aircraft.
NLA 18 is no longer visible.
There you go. This is digital video broadcast. This is the shipping map.
All I have to do is plug that little receiver into my USB port,
Yep,
install that software,
yes,
and sit back and have fun.
yeah. That's a low bar of entry. Yeah, of course. What is this Morse code?
Was that a beacon?
I'm not sure. We can replay it if you want. Radio astronomy. Of course, like you said, you have to have the right antennas for this too.
Yeah.
So that's,
Is that pointing out the star we're listening to? That red line on the, yeah, okay.
I'm not sure.
Some kind of black magic.
FM. Doing measurements. Radar. I don't know why they have the volume on for this. Let's see, here's something.
So I have one of those phone calls over there,
What's that?
I've always been competition and all that. So,
Get it over with. Unless you win one today.
I'm not even help you guys.
Okay. And this is like a one-man show. The guy develops this, but he has some people helping him. Volunteers, of course. So he does it voluntarily. I think he's done a terrific job.
So when this was listening to AM, it was listening to analog?
Yes.
No 84 is visible for 6
There is
minutes.
digital AM. I don't know if
Max
it's really out
elevation,
there anymore now.
45 degrees.
There was like a HD AM at one time. It didn't catch on. But yes, I've been looking, I don't see a decoder for HD radio for FM, but imagine he might add one at some point, but of course he's over in Europe, so,
Well, in Europe, they shut off all the analog broadcasts on FM.
yeah.
Only digital.
There you go, that's kind of cool sounding.
You know what scheme they're using there? Microwave scheme they were using?
No, but that brings up an interesting point, and that's, are we gonna replay this?
You want to?
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and replay. If you, but HF is like the Wild West, okay? You have so many different signals, all different countries and stuff, exotic stuff. You got number stations, which is kind of cool. I don't know how many are in operation still, but you know, but just the, like the sound it was just making, it sounded like, to me, like an HF signal, you know.
It sounded like Olivia, a little bit like
Yes.
Olivia.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, the HF band. It's hard to use though. You're at the mercy of solar cycles.
Yeah.
Weather satellite on HF, takes 20 minutes to reach scan line, and then it
Yeah.
drops off.
This is the video. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there on this tool. So this is just like a smattering of all the applications. But you can drill down to the specifics, and it'll tell you how to set up the stuff on the other videos.
Not everything has on,
No,
not all
it
of
doesn't.
on.
No.
Some are silent.
Yeah, I understand. Find out where else where it is.
Yeah.
That's cool. CKDIGOK. They're coded.
Oh, okay.
Which, is that CK space BIG space OK? Whatever that is, goodness knows. I'm sorry? You should go and study. Thank you, study it, yeah.
I have a book that has like all the HF signals out there that they cataloged. Oh, there's a good site you guys should go to. It's called, I think it's called SIG ID
I think that is
Wiki.
the star they were looking at. Hydrogen line, I think is what it's here.
So SIG ID Wiki, all one word. They have all kinds of signals you can sample and look at and hear and all that stuff. So
So this thing translates digital or analog.
the video part,
You know, the device that what you're showing, it translates digital or analog.
yes, it will. It will.
Well, the receiver doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's your software that cares.
Yeah. Yeah, it decodes analog waveforms.
Right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Analog. What it is advantages.
Software's free.
Software is free. Go to sdrangel.org. I can give you a list of links afterwards or whatever you can put on the webpage if you want. Useful links. I was meaning to do that, but then it would have just been in the presentation anyhow, so it's better to have it out on the webpage where people can access it easy. Okay. Yeah, are there any other questions? I'm gonna try to demo the ADSB. I wasn't having a lot of luck with it earlier, but I'm gonna try to get it set up in a minute, so just so you can see.
Just a quick question about those clocks. What use were those clocks?
when they had the clocks
Yeah,
up there?
they had the clocks up.
For like, I think they had WWV and things like that, you know?
I understand WWP, but there's some other ones as well.
I didn't catch what those were.
Okay.
You just have to get a receiver and software and find out.
I will do that.
I know you,
No 84 is visible
What's that?
for 6 minutes. Maximum
CHU, I'm not familiar with
45
CHU.
degrees.
Oh,
That's the Canadian standard.
Canadian or China?
Canadian, he's right about that. It's Canadian.
I'm not aware of that, so I can't answer that.
We can hear that better than we can hear a lot of the time. Indian Observatory, Canada.
Yeah, that's right. Especially if you're up north.
So, I don't know if I can set up and we can do the raffle while I'm setting up or something.
Yeah, let's do that. So while he sets up the receiver, who's having some reception problems here, we'll do the raffle for the free device.
Russian radio. I bought it from Frank from New York. He rode around on a bicycle up there selling stuff. He was kind of character. He'd mix drinks and give them to people. Yeah.
Most of those are only AM, so that's
Yes, FM. They have other. They have several of these radios. It's Japanese, Chinese, and different ones. I forgot, somewhere in Georgia, Duluth maybe.
Yeah, we made this with the laptop.
Okay, we've had this one for a long time. I don't know where it came from, but it's a General Electric and it says Hong Kong on the bottom and it still works. You can turn it on, it still works. It's AM only and I think I got it on WSB or something.
It's at least from the 70s because I remember it as a kid. And it doesn't say Coca-Cola Classic. It says Coke.
Coke, yeah.
Don't let me shake it before you turn it on.
That's one of mine. That's the remake, the Chinese cooler radio with the cassette player up top, AM, FM. Chinese copy. That's another one of mine. Actually, my son, he started a collection with the Hamburger Helper. The Hamburger Helper, he also has one new in the box, but that one's for sale. And then we've got the Campbell's. That's also one of my son's collection. But he started with that Hamburger Helper a long time ago. And it's AM only on both of those. The nose is a volume off on. Doesn't have any batteries in it. Who's next? Who's fast?
Not a lot to tell with this. I guess that spray, just happened to find that at an antique store. Don't know much about it. The WD-40 was some sort of anniversary package. It actually came with a real can of WD-40, and then that's the radio. And we got a flood and I lost the box and the WD-40, but that radio managed to stay.
I was at an estate sale and saw a can of WD-40 on the shelf and thought, oh, I could use this as a can. I picked it up and one of the
It came in a box, an anniversary box with that and a real bottle of WD-40.
I did buy it, yeah. $3 later, it was.
Member name is Reed Fisher, that's me. Item name is Delco Battery Radio. Manufacturer, Delco, question mark. Year produced, question mark. Country of manufacture, probably China. Any questions?
Actually, Hong Kong, it says it on the bottom.
Oh, it actually says Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Right, I missed that.
It's gotta be like 80s, right, with the side terminals and the top? Yeah. The seals on the
Yeah,
side?
the GM batteries started with those side terminals. Well, my 1990 Olds, which I have right in the parking lot, has the side terminals.
Yep, no top terminals.
Do you happen to have a Delco radio?
I don't know, I've never tried it.
Coca-Cola, is this yours too?
No. Somebody else's.
Whose is the Coke radio?
Yes, so that's just a basic Coke machine radio, 1970. Where was it made? Does it say? Japan, there you go.
So those four are mine.
It's smaller.
Yeah, that one came out of a antique store. I bought that, I think in South Georgia. The Sunoco one and the battery one were in a shoebox in my late father-in-law's house when we cleaned it out. They had a trucking business, so I imagine that's where those came from. Yeah. And then the other one, the Monroe, also probably came from there much later, because that's AM, FM too.
Monroe Racing.
Yeah. And that's it.
Okay. All right, open comments, member time. Anybody got any questions to ask the other members? Concerns, questions, looking for advice, help? Yes, sir.
How about maybe have a segment during the meeting where if somebody has a problem with a radio, they can bring it up and they get advice from people?
Well, that's sort of what this was, but we can make it more fun, make it more formal, yep.
Yeah, to build on what he said, maybe if you do have a radio, the problem is put it on the club news before the meeting.
Right.
So people can do
some research or what,
yeah,
yep.
I got some info on this or whatever.
Okay, we'll do that.
Or put it on the Facebook site.
Yeah. So we'll plan that for January. That's a good New Year
Some of the
thing.
clubs use that radio rescue. What they call it, radio rescue.
What's that?
When they troubleshoot a radio for somebody that's got a problem.
Okay, that's a good idea. So we'll do that in January. So if you all got something in the shelf that needs repairing, want some advice, let us know. We'll plug it in for the agenda and make it a regular feature, assuming if somebody has something that they need to do. So that's the plan there. As I already said, for December, trivia, games, mini club auction on test gear, show and tell's test gear. There will be prizes are vacuum tubes for the winners of those games or whatever. Again, thank you for everybody for the swap meet. Came out very well. Thank you, Dwight and Aries and everybody who scored all that gear and those tubes. You saw the numbers. That's a huge win for the club. So, especially since our costs are going up against our will, so that's certainly going to help us going forward. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah, we're up to 103. Yeah, so we've had 6 in the last. We had more, but I had to remove a couple because they were not real people. Bots. It's very interesting when you go and you find a person and they haven't posted anything and they have no friends. That's a dead giveaway. Delete, block, they're out of here. So we did have one person a long time ago joined, and then the next thing I saw is they were trying to hawk T-shirts. They'd taken our logo off the website, very poorly created a mock-up T-shirt. We're trying to sell us T-shirts with our logo. Yeah, that went away immediately. Block, delete, whatever, just so. That's the downside to it, but I think we do a pretty good job of policing it. I always check, as I said, the user profiles of the people, and, you know, if they got a radio on there, they're probably okay to go. Some of them, but, you know, people will invite friends that, like, are on the periphery of the hobby. That's fine, that's good, so. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, so we will close this out. Thank you again for voting. Thank you again for having confidence in us. Next month, 9 o'clock, I don't remember what the date was, 12th or something, I don't know. You know where it is. And then if you want to open up, we'll open up to the member selling. We'll see you next month. Thank you.